We are halfway, part 6, row 7 of the quilt along. Are you ready? Hi there and welcome to a new video in the Sugaridoo Bernina quilt along. This is part 6 already. We are going to make row 7 and this row is called Down and Up. And this is what the row looks like. We have all these fun arrows added together in one long row and one arrow in your accent fabric. And this row is called Down and Up, and I thought it was very suitable for the strange time that we are living in. Due to Corona, everything is different. Also over here, I'm not in the studio as much. I'm working from home a lot and we all stay at home as much as possible. And the world is just different right now. And watching the news and reading social media, hearing what's happening around us can make me feel down and sad and stressed and anxious really quickly. Yeah, it's a kind of a mood roller coaster that I'm going through, and I know a lot of us are going through that. And I thought, let's try to lift each other up, because we all can do a little bit in that. We all can look at tiny positive things and brighten up our days for ourselves, and also send out those positive vibes to others, because I know that will help us get through this. There are so many people who are alone at home and can really need a phone call or a postcard. Maybe there's neighbors for which you can mean something, or via social media. Just share the positive things that are happening in your home, around you, that you see, and the happy thoughts that you have, because I think that really helps to lift each other up, and that will help to get us through this. So that is why I thought that this row would really suit what's happening around us now. So there's not a new technique which I actually planned. I planned to start with rounded shapes, but since I'm not so often in the studio, I thought it would take some more time to film a whole new technique. So we are going back to foundation paper piecing with freezer paper. And since we're making 12 blocks, I think it's really meditative to make this one. Taking time to cut the fabrics and to sew, and yeah, just focus on doing something that we love. It really brightens up my mood, so I hope it will also brighten up yours. So yeah, that's what we are going to do. And also a very happy note for this row is that it is halfway of the quilt along. So when you finish this one, then you would have already made 6 rows. 6 rows, half of the quilt is done. That's awesome, and that is reason for a giveaway. So I'm going to assemble 3 fat quarter bundles from the fabrics that I have in my studio. I'm just going to handpick a few happy bundles and going to send those out to 3 lucky winners. And if you want to participate, you just need to finish all your 6 rows and make a picture. And to enter the giveaway, you can post your picture on Instagram by tagging Sugaridoo @Sugaridoo, and by using the hashtag Sugaridoo Bernina QAL. So just by doing that, you will enter the giveaway. And then when you don't have Instagram or don't want to post your picture on there, you can enter via the Bernina blog. So you can go there and in the community page over there, which will be linked in the comments below, and also will be linked and explained a little bit further in the Bernina blog post. You can enter your picture there and make sure to select the project Sugaridoo Bernina QAL along over there. So that will give you a entry to win one of the fat quarter bundles. So yeah, that's it. I guess we are ready to start. And I just wanted to take a little moment to say that I'm super happy that you're joining, and I'm super happy with the great positive vibe that is coming from the Sugaridoo Bernina quilt along. It is really such a great experience for me personally to do this and to yeah, to see how it's going and making a project with so many quilters from over the world. But what I see from it on Instagram, on Facebook, and in the comments everywhere, that people are having so much fun and learning new things, and I'm really happy to hear that you're enjoying it and that you're getting something positive out of it, because I guess that's what we can really need right now. So yeah, I hope in this all strange situation that you're home and that you're safe and healthy until it's all gone and back to normal. So let's grab our fabrics and start making this row. So let's see what we will need today. Today I'm going to show you how to make your row with printed fabric and with solids. So this is the fabric that I'm using for my second quilt, and I have a print as my main fabric and a solid as the background. So you need your fabric, and for the rainbow quilt I am using this green fabric called Cactus, my accent fabric, and of course background fabric. So fabric, first thing you need, some freezer paper. I'm using a fabric scissors, paper scissors, and a quarter ruler, or if you don't have one you could also use a normal inch ruler. So I'm also using an inch ruler, and let's see, rotary cutter, and of course my pattern. And here I have my printed pattern, but I also have a different version of it. And I made this different version as an extra this time. And you can check it on the Bernina blog, but there are measurements around the pattern and extra guidelines to help you draw the block when you don't have a printer. So because this is a strange time and a lot of you won't be at work, I know that some of you always print the patterns at work, so it would be sad if you can't start sewing your row because you don't have a printer. So what you do to use these guidelines is you just draw a rectangle of 8.5 by 5 and 3/4 of an inch. So you draw the rectangle for the outside, and then you will use these measurements that are on the sides to draw the lines that you need. So for example, in the bottom you see here the measurements, and that can help you draw all the lines that you need to make the block. So I think this is enough information to draw it yourself when you don't have a printer. Yeah, I hope that helps you to figure out how to draw it. And if you do have a printer, just print your pattern from the Bernina blog. And I also added a little extra square over here, and that tells you that that is 1/4 of an inch, 1 inch. So this square, when you measure it with your ruler, you can check if you've printed your pattern true to size. So when you've printed it, it should measure, well, the square of course should measure 1 inch, and then the pattern is 8.5 inch long and 5 3/4 wide. So mine is printed correctly, so I can start transferring this to my freezer paper. So that should get you all started, whether you have a printer or not. And now the next step is to transfer our pattern to the freezer paper. So that is one pattern transferred, and what I like to do is cut it very closely to the edge, and I'm just using my old rotary cutter for that, and I'm cutting it off at less than 1/4 inch, so that when in the end I need to cut my fabric, I won't cut through the paper with my good rotary cutter. First pattern done. I'm going to add 3 more so that I can sew 3 blocks, or when I'm also doing my other row with it, even more blocks with every pattern piece. There we go. Oh, we're almost done pattern-wise, because with freezer paper we always need to fold over all the lines first. So fold over all the lines that we just drew before we continue. So now all the pattern pieces are done. It's time to cut my fabric, and as in the other foundation paper piecing rows that we did, I'm first going to cut up my pattern to have template pieces to cut my fabric. So over here we have the pieces for the arrow, and we need to cut 11 of these from our main fabric and 1 from our accent fabric, and then this is for the background fabric, and we need 12 sets of this for our background fabric. So let me get my main fabric first, and also my main fabric with print, and giving that a press. There we go. So let's start with the fabric with the print. And for the fabric with the print, I'm placing my fabric with the print down on my mat. So the print is down, and this is where I am going to place my template pieces. So let me pick a template. My template is going with the right side up. So the right side up is where you can read your number that you drew on it. Yeah, so the fabric right side facing down, and the pattern piece right side facing up. And then I'm just going to cut around it. That is one of my pattern pieces, and I need 11 of those for my main fabric. And what is quite important to help placing your fabrics later on is that your fabric follows the shape of your templates pretty well. And as you can see here, this triangle has a different shape than the triangle from my template. So I am going to adjust that a little bit by trimming off over here, so that it just follows the shape of my template piece a little bit better. It doesn't have to be exactly, but when you have your fabric following the shape of your template, that will really help by placing your fabric below your pattern later on. So let's see, I'm also going to cut a few of my other template pieces. And also here I have a piece that does fit but doesn't really follow the shape of the template. I'm just going to trim this angle off so that it will follow the shape way better. So there we have some of my printed fabric cut. Going to cut the rest later. And then let's cut all my pieces from my main fabric. And this is a solid fabric. So where I needed to cut these fabrics one by one, I can leave this fabric folded double and cut 2 at a time. So for example, for this one, I'm just going to trim it like this. Oh yeah, of course, this was my blunt ruler. Let's take a sharp one. That's better. Trimming off the side. And then I can cut 2 at a time. Nine, 10. And one more. There's quite a lot of green fabric left. Oh well, I guess that's nice when you want to make a block over again, or use it to make a pillow or something to go with your quilt. There we go. And then, yes, one time I need to cut my accent fabric. There we go, all the main and accent fabric cut. Now we just need to cut the background fabric. I'm using solid fabric for my background, so then it doesn't matter if you put your template pieces like this or like this, and you can have your fabric folded double. But when your background fabric is also with print, then of course you need to cut this also one by one. And make sure to always put your template piece on the back of your fabric. So now I need 12 of all of this. Yeah, 12. So these pieces, piece 6 and 7 are the same size, but then flipped. So if you're working with solids, then you would need 24, of course, in total of these. Let's see how much we have here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And from this, not really going to fit 2, so I'm just going to cut 1. Does it? Oh wait, it does fit. There we go. So then we have 16, 8 more to cut. And the thing is that about following the shapes of your piece, that helps. I really like to do that. So also here I'm just going to chip off that, so that it really follows the shape of my template. So 4 of these, we have 4, no, 6 already, and I also need 24 in total. Okay, there we go. I have my setup here, all the fabrics, my pattern pieces, iron, and my sewing machine, and add a quarter ruler and rotary cutter. So now we are all set to start, and I'm going to start off with making 2 blocks. I'm just going to make one with my solid fabrics and one with the print fabrics. With the solids, you just place your first piece on your table and place your pattern piece over it. With the print fabric, you place your fabric with the print facing down, and then your pattern piece goes on top of it. And with this first pattern piece, you want to make sure that it is on the outside of the lines of part 1 from the pattern. And when that's the case, you can pick it up and bring it to your ironing board. It's actually easier to line it on your ironing board because then you don't have to move it afterwards. And then you press it to your pattern. So giving it a press, and then you can see that the right side of the fabric is facing up when you look at the bottom of the pattern. So that is how your print fabric should be. And now for the solid fabric, I'm also going to just line it up over here because that's easier. And pressing it to my pattern. There we go. And this first piece is symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which way it was facing, because this solid fabric doesn't have a front and a back side. Okay, next step is folding it over the line between 1 and 2. And very carefully I'm just pulling away my fabric that was pressed to this little piece over here. So I'm folding it back and peeling off my fabric so that you have your pattern piece folded back and the fabric is laying flat on your table. Then I'm going to use my add a quarter ruler and trim off this seam to 1/4 inch. There we go. And I'm also going to do that for the print fabric, which is of course exactly the same step. There we go. So both are now prepared for the next step. So with my solids, I'm just going to take one of these and I'm going to place it mirrored with the shape of piece 2. So piece 2 is shaped like this, but this piece I'm going to place it mirrored with piece 2 so that it is the same shape as your folded back pattern piece. So piece 2 on my folded back pattern is now the same shape as my fabric piece. And because I cut it in the same shape, it's really easy to line it up now. What I will be doing is I place my thumb on one line, so on this point, and the other thumb I'm going to place on that line. So then I know piece 2 runs from here to there. So I'm folding it, placing my thumb here and here, and when I then move and place my pattern, lining up my edge over here and the edge of the fabric, and making sure that on both sides there's a little bit of fabric. Then because I use my templates to follow the shape of the pattern piece, then I now already know that it's in the right position without even checking. But if you do want to check, of course that's okay. You first need to check if it's on this side, if the bottom fabric is sticking out, and on this side, yep, we also see gray fabric there. And you want it to be behind the folded back pattern piece. So it should be behind this line from there to there. So when I fold it back, you see I have enough fabric left over there and enough fabric left over here. So it's completely in the right spot. That's really convenient. So then I take this to my sewing machine and sew along the line of my folded back paper. There we go. I've sewn along the folded back line of my paper. And now I can fold open the paper. And I can fold open the fabric. Give it a bit of a finger press. And then press this fabric to the pattern. Try not to touch your freezer paper glossy side with your iron, because then it will stick to your iron. So now the second piece of the solid is added to my arrow. So let's do this one now, but I realize that of course I have a solid background, which makes it easier for me. But what if you have also a print as a background. So let's say you have a print. Just going to mark it a bit so that we know that it's an erasable marker, so no worries. So that is my print. I just marked it a little bit. Can you see it? It's really difficult to see, but I marked it so that this should be my print, and this piece is supposed to go over here. So what you do when you're working with prints is that you do exactly the same as we did there. So we fold back our pattern, and then what you do is you take your piece and place it with your print up on your table. And when you place it with your print up on the table, you will see that it follows the line of piece 2. And then we can just do the same. I press one thumb here, place one thumb there, and place it over here. So here we have some fabric sticking out, here we have some fabric sticking out, and then I already know that my shape will fit. So let me show you. So piece 2 is running from there to there and down, so it should show here fabric, yes, and it should show fabric over there, and it should show fabric there. Yep. So I'm just going to sew this and give it a press. And there we go. I've sewn it along the edge of the paper. So now I'm just going to fold open my fabric and fold open the paper and then press it. So I do see some blue lines over here which I marked. So this is the right side facing up, what was also supposed to happen. So let's also add piece 3 now. And piece 3 has a pattern on this side. So let's see how we are going to place this one. It should end up like this, and then when you would forget about the paper piecing, of course you would think it should be like this. So let's place fabrics right side facing each other, sew it and fold it open. So that is what we should be doing. So let's take it a step back, fold back our paper first, use the edit quarter ruler to trim our seam, and then I'm going to place it with the print up, and this one is with the print down, so then the prints will be facing each other. And fold it open. There we go. Okay, let's just do one more because now it is really a print fabric. This is the next piece. And we first, of course, are going to trim away the edge. So let's see, this line should we follow? There we go. And here's my little piece, and I place it with the print up. And this one is with the print down, so then the two prints will be facing each other. I'm finding where I need to place my thumbs, so that's here and over there. So that's here and over here. Placing them on the fabric, checking if there's fabric on both sides. There is. So I'll just pick it up, sew it. And then it's time to fold it open. So that is how I place my fabric when I'm using a fabric with a print. I hope this helps for all of you who are using print fabric. Yeah, so that's how I do it, and let's now continue making some blocks with my solids. So to finish this block, I'm just going to show you how I'm adding all the other fabrics, and after that you're good to go for all the other 11 arrows that you need. So each step is the same. I've trimmed off this to 1/4 inch. checking where piece 3 is, putting my fabric so that it is exactly the same as the folded back piece 3, so it's not the same as the folded open piece 3, it's the same as the folded back piece 3, picking it up and placing it over my fabric piece. Let's sew this. Fold open my fabric and give it a press. And there we have already the first 3 pieces. So now it's time for piece 4. That is that little triangle over there. Folding my pattern, placing the at a 1/4 ruler, trimming it to a 1/4 inch, and then taking one of these little ones. Let's see, so this triangle should be shaped like this, and then I find from where to where it runs. So what I'm looking for is this spot and this spot, so from where to where the little triangle goes. And I guess on video it's hard to see, but from here I can see my fold lines, so then I know from where to where it runs. So it runs from there to there. I pick it up and place it over my fabric piece, and I'm not checking it anymore because I know that I use templates to cut my fabrics, and I know that I used a 1/4 inch seam, and that all the fabrics are have more space around the templates than a 1/4 inch. So when you place it like this and you use the templates to cut your fabric, you can hardly go wrong. Opening up the paper, opening up the little piece, and giving it a press. So there we have piece 4. Now time for piece 5. Piece 5 is this bigger triangle. That's also going to be in your main fabric. There we go. So one of these. One is enough. Place it on my table. See from where to where it runs. From there to there. Place it on top. And then I'm just giving it a quick check because this triangle isn't completely symmetrical, but I think I cut all my pieces big enough so this fits perfectly. Fold open the paper, fold open the fabric, and give it a press. 2 more pieces to go. First piece 6. And 6 and 7 are the same when you're using solids. So one of these. And then again I'm following this shape of the folded back pattern. Placing it on top of my fabric, lining it out with the 1/4 inch. Folding it open for the final time for this block. And there it is, the first of the solid green arrows finished. So now it's time to trim this block, and we need to trim it to 6 1/4 and 9 inches. What I like to do with these kind of blocks with freezer paper is to just first trim 2 of the sides. So that's one, and I'm trimming it at a 1/4 inch from this line. So that is also why I trimmed the paper less than a 1/4 inch. So I've trimmed this side. Then I'm going to trim this one, also on a 1/4 inch. And what I then do is that I don't really follow these lines anymore. Because I drew this pattern myself, I didn't print it, so I don't want my block getting a little error in shape, because it's easily avoidable by just trimming it to the size that I want. So I'm just going to get a little bigger inch ruler over here, just a little easier. So the length of the block, including seam allowance, should be 9 inch. This is a great example because you can see that my pattern isn't exactly squared. So I'm going to zoom in to show you. So I hope that you can see it well over here. So this side I trimmed and this side I trimmed. So what I then do is I line up my ruler with this side over here and this side over here. And this side I line it up with my 9-inch line, so that the block is going to be 9 inches long, including seam allowance. And then you can see here that that black line that I drew isn't really following my ruler. You see? So that when I would line up my ruler with that line, then this side won't be straight, but it would be a little bit tilted. So I'm just going to follow this side that I already trimmed, trimming it on this side. So now that I know that this is really 9 inches long, and this should be 6 1/4 inch. There we go. Let's see. Also this one, you can see that I didn't really transfer the pattern perfectly. So let's trim it up over here. But that's okay because the outside is background fabric, and I just make sure that I cut the most essential side. That's this one, that I cut that one first, and then the other sides will follow. And it's okay because this outside is just background fabric, so it doesn't matter if you have a few millimeters more or less. And I just make sure that I cut the most essential side, which is this one, first, so that I'm sure that this is 1/4 inch. And now I know that my block really measures 9 inches, so from 0 here to 9, and 6 1/4 inch. So this is perfectly squared and the right side size. Let's peel this off. Careful. And then we have one block done. 11 more to go. Now all my 12 blocks are done. I can start adding them to one row. So I'm going to start with one pointing down and then my accent pointing up, and then alternating down and up. So just sewing this together with a 1/4 inch seam. Almost done. So now it's time to press the row. I've added all the blocks together, and I'm just going to press the seams to one side. You can press your seams open, just what you prefer best. It's both just fine. So I'm pressing my seams, and then the row is almost done. Then when it all measured out exactly, this row should be now 69 inches. And therefore we need to add tiny strips to both sides of the row to make it 70.5 inch in total, including seam allowance. So what you're going to do now is just measure your row and see how long it is, and then add a little strip of 9 inch long and whatever you need wide to both sides to make your row 70.5 inch, and then you're done. And pressing the final block. So this is all my blocks added together, and now I'm just going to fold it in half to measure how long it is. There we go, that's better. And then putting it on my cutting mat. Let's see. This measures exactly 35 inches for me. So that is including seam allowance, so that is already 70 inch. I need to add half an inch, which should be divided over both sides, which means I need to add just 1/4 of an inch to each side, meaning I need to cut strips of 3/4 of an inch wide and 9 inch long. So if you don't want to do any calculating for this, just add some strips to both sides of your row, then fold your row in half and cut it off at 35 1/4 inch. So then you know that it will be 70 1/2 inch when you fold it open. So then you don't need to do any calculating. But I'm going to cut strips of 9 inch and 3/4, 9 inch long, 3/4 wide, and add it to my row. Let's see, here we go, 9 inch long, 3/4, so let's cut over here. Then first make it 9 inches and then cut 3 1/4 inch over here and 3 1/4 inch over here. Tiny strips. That is one side, and then the other. Final press. There we go. That will make my row long enough to be 70 1/2 inches wide. Ta-da! There it is! The whole row is finished. I'm super happy. It is such a happy, bright color, this green. And the arrows are fun. Yep, I really like making it. And I really like how it turned out. It's a really nice addition to our quilt, I think. I really hoped you enjoyed making this one and that it brightened up your day a little bit. Don't forget to enter your picture of your first 6 rows onto Instagram or the Bernina blog to enter the giveaway for some lovely fret quarters. And we will let you know before the next row starts. No, you have to enter before the next row starts, and we'll let you know who won the Monday after that. So check out the Bernina blog for the exact dates. But yeah, you have 4 weeks to enter this one and enter the giveaway. Oh, and by the way, Sugaridoo has a new website and web shop. So if you do want to check out these fret quarters by yourself and want to order some, that is now possible, and it's all pretty and shiny, and I have a new branding and I'm super excited about it. So if you want to check that out, that would mean a lot. And then I guess I'll see you soon again. I'm working on filming weekly videos again, so I really hope to see you again soon on the Sugaridoo channel. Bye bye!